Okay, so this is the last section, the last readings that we have to do, and the last exercises that we have to do. So hopefully we can get through them in this video and finish section 2 on working with strings in part 3. I'm going to, I think, utilize a feature that I don't use too many times unless I'm having like issues submitting exercises and I have to reload the page and I don't want to make you guys sit here and wait. So I might be pausing the recordings after each exercise, or I'm gonna figure out a way to trim down this video in a way that cuts through the exercises and solutions a little bit faster so we can condense this video into under 30 minutes. So we're gonna do the reading, then we're gonna do this exercise, and then continue with the rest of the remaining material. So as you can see, it's getting a little bit more interesting and a little bit more challenging in terms of just how you have to think and approach some of these exercises. But hopefully we can get through them in 30 minutes and conclude this section. Okay, searching for substrings. The in operator can tell us if a string contains a particular substring. The Boolean expression A in B is true if B contains the substring A. For example, this bit of code. We have a variable here called input string, which stores this string called test, which has this string with the value test. Then we print T in substring, in input string. Then we print X in input string. Then we print ES in input string, and then print ETS in input string. And that prints out true because T does appear in input string. It appears here, and it appears there. X does not appear in test. ES does appear in test right here in the middle. And then ETS does not appear in input string. Now it does appear backwards. I'm sorry, it actually does not appear, right? EST, this is ETS, so that's why it's printing false. The program below lets the user search for substrings within a string hard-coded into the program. So we have a string perpendicular stored in this variable, and then we have a while loop. We say while true, the substring, and then we provide a substring to look for, and then we print if the substring is in the input string, print found it, else print not found. So perpendicular is the word. What substring are we looking for? Write perp, found it, shows up here. What are you looking for? ABC, not found. There's no sequences of letters that spell out ABC. What are you looking for? Pen, found it, right here, and so on and so forth. So we can do LAR for LAR, and it'll say found it. In fact, we can put this into the Python playground. So we can do LAR, found it. We can do car, not found. We can do pendy, found it. We could do pendicular, like that, found it. We can do RPE, found it. We can do PRE, not found. We can do ACE, not found, etc., etc. So that's what this is doing. We're giving it a substring to look for, and then here we check, does that substring exist in the input string? And if it does, print found it. If not, print not found. Okay, so here we have an exercise called does it contain vowels? We're instructed to please write a program which asks the user to input a string. The program then prints out different messages if the string contains any of the vowels A, or O. You may assume the input will be in lowercase entirely. Have a look at the examples below. So please type in a string, hello there. Then the program is going to look for the first vowel, A, and says A is not found, right? There's no A anywhere in here. Then A, found, shows up here and there as well. O, also found, shows up here. So this vowel does exist in our string, this vowel does exist in our string, but the vowel A does not exist in this string. Here's another example. We have this string Haya. Okay, A is found, it's right here. A is not found, right? We don't see it anywhere, and O is not found either. All right, so let's go through our solution. Now this one's going to be actually pretty simple. We're going to have a string here, a variable here called input string, which is going to store that string that we prompt the user for. And then we're going to have another variable called vowels, and that's going to store our vowels, just I, A, O, like that. And then we're going to have our index iterator. Set that equal to 0. Then we're going to have a loop while index is less than or equal to the length of vowels, right? We don't want to get the length of the string. We just want the length of the vowels, so we can target each vowel individually in our loop. Then we're going to say the vowel we want to specify is going to be vowels at the index. And then we're going to say if vowel is in the input string, print the vowel and found, like that. Or you can do an F string, maybe it might be a little bit vowel found. Else, just going to copy that again, hold Alt Shift down arrow key, and it's going to duplicate whatever line the cursor is on, and then you can use Alt and either up or down on the keyboard, right? Those two arrow keys, you can move that line up or down. So again, if I want to duplicate print, because I'm going to reuse it, just Shift Alt down arrow key, then Alt down arrow key, and then we're just going to come over here and change to not found, and then we're going to do index is equal to index plus 1. So let's run this. If we type in hello there, not found, we have an issue here. So index out of range. So this probably shouldn't be less than or equal to. It should probably be less than. Not test. Hello there. There we go. Not found, right? Because does not appear anywhere here in the string. A is found, right? We see it here. We see it here. We see it here. O is also found. We see it right there. So let's run this through a test and see how we do. Awesome. Let's check out the model solution. Oh, they did the exact same thing. So we have a string here called, a variable called string, which stores the user input string that we prompt for. We have a variable called vowels. It stores the string A-O, our 3 vowels that we're looking for. Then we have our index variable starting at 0, and then we check, well, index is less than the length of vowels, right? So vowels is 3 characters long. So this would be if 0 is less than 3, then we want to target the vowel at that index. So it's going to start at index 0, which would be the A. Then it's going to see if A is in string, print vowel found. Actually, this is how we're going to do it the first time before we switch to doing F string. So if we plug in hello there, it's going to look for, does appear in hello there? It doesn't, so it's going to print not found, and it's going to increment index to 1. So it's going to be, index is going to be 1 now, so it's going to be this letter, right? Because 0 is A, 1 is E, or I should say I, and 1 is E. So our vowel here is going to be assigned this character. Then we're going to say, does if E is in the string hello there, and it's going to print found because A does exist in hello there. Otherwise, print not found, right? So that's the solution. You can do an F string, or you can do it this with the string, comma separated values in the print command. Both of those work, but this is the solution that we came up with. All right. Okay, so the operator in returns a Boolean value, right? So true or false. So it'll only tell us if a substring exists in a string, but it will not be useful in finding out where exactly it is, right? So even when I've pointed out here in our example here, let's go back up here, right? Is not found, A is found. So what's happening here is that Python is only evaluating whether it exists anywhere in this string, right? It doesn't tell us if it's picking up the first one, the second one, the last one, or if it's picking up all 3. Same thing with the O. Now, obviously, the O here only exists once. It appears once, so it's picking up just the one instance. But we don't really know if which one it's picking up, or if it's picking up multiple occurrences of that substring. Instead, the Python string method find can be used for this purpose. it takes the substring searched for as an argument and returns either the first index where it is found or -1 if the substring is not found within the string. The image below illustrates how it is used. So myString.find, then we pass in our substring. So myString will be the string in which we want to search, and the substring is what we want to find in the string that we want to search. So here's an example. So here we have a variable called inputString, which has the string test assigned to it. Then we print inputString.find t. So it's going to return 0. Then inputString x, right? X doesn't appear anywhere in the string, so it returns -1. Okay, substring es appears at 1, right? So es is here. So it's telling us where it starts, not where it ends or where, you know what I mean? So this will be index 0, this will be index 1, this will be index 2, etc., etc. So it's telling us it's starting at index 1, and then ets doesn't appear, right? We have est, but not ets, so it returns -1. The above substring search example implemented with find. So again, we have a variable called inputString, assign the string perpendicular. We have a loop here while true, and then we ask for the substring, and then index of the substring from our input string, and then we say if the index is greater than or equal to 0, print found at that index, otherwise print not found. So we can look for perp found at index 0, right? Because it starts at perp, starts from index 0. ABC not found because ABC doesn't appear anywhere here, right? There's no sequences of letters, consecutive letters that spell out ABC. Pen found it at index 3, right here. So 0, 1, 2, index 3, and then onwards. All right. Above, we use the string method find. Methods work quite similarly to the functions covered in the previous part. What distinguishes them from functions is that the methods are always attached to the object they are called on. The object is the entity named before the method in the call. In the case of find, the object is the string where the method looks for the substring it has an argument. So this is talking about objects in programming. You might also have learned or heard of the term object-oriented programming. So this is kind of introducing that a little bit early, which I'm not really a fan of. But we will learn a little bit further along that these data types that we use, strings, integers, arrays, and later on objects, are also types of objects, right? Because they have specific methods that can be used on them, right? So, for example, for strings, we can have the find method, right? It's attached to the variable that is pointing to that string, for example. And we'll see a bunch of others, and then I'm sure we'll also learn how to create our own objects and attach specific methods to them that interact with those objects. Okay, so here we have another exercise called find the substring, the first substring. So please write a program which asks the user to type in a string and a single character. The program then prints the first 3-character slice, which begins with the character specified by the user. You may assume the input string is at least 3 characters long. The program must print out 3 characters or else nothing. Pay special attention to when there are less than 2 characters left in the string after the first occurrence of the character looked for. In that case, nothing should be printed out, and there should not be any indexing errors when executing the program. So here, we prompt the user to type in a word. They type in mammoth. We prompt the user to provide a character. They provide M, and it prints MAM, right? So MAM. Please type in a word, banana. Please type in a character N. Types in NAN, right? So it finds the first instance of the letter N in the word banana, and then prints out this substring that's 3 characters long. Please type in a word tomato. Type in character X. X does not appear in tomato, so it doesn't print anything. Python is the word that we provide. N is the character we're looking for. While N does appear, it appears at the end, so we can't print anything that starts with N onwards. Okay. So we're going to have a variable here called input string. It's going to be the input that we prompt the user for. Please type in. Then we're going to have a variable called char, short for character, which is going to store the character that we want to find. Then if char in input string, and we're going to have a variable called index input string dot find the character, right? So find the first occurrence. Then we're going to ask if the index is greater than or equal to 0, and the index is not the last character. If that's the case, then we want to print the input string. We want to print that substring. So we want to start at the index and then go to the index plus 2. All right, so let's see what this does. So if we type in mammoth, type in M, okay, so we need to go plus 3. Mammoth, M, types in MAM, tomato, X, prints nothing, banana, N, prints nan, banana, A, prints Anna, Python, N, prints nothing. So what's happening here? So we prompt the user for a word. We store that word in input string. Then we prompt the user for a character that we want to search for, right? So then first we do check if the character exists in the input string. Then we want to get the input string, the position of that character, right? So that's what we store to index. And then we check if the index is greater than or equal to 0, meaning that we have a word that's longer than 0 characters, right? And we check if that index is not the last character, because we know if it's the last character, let's say for example here in Python, then we can't print that substring that we want that starts from that character, right? We can't print like, for example, take this for example, right? When we have n, we can't print NaN if n is the last character, right? Because there's nothing else to print after that, because we have to print a substring that's 3 characters long that starts from that character that we're looking for, right? So this is what this check is doing. And if this passes, then we want to print that substring, which starts from the index that we got from here and ends 3 characters down the line. So let's test this. Your program should not print out anything with the input Python, but it printed out on. Do you see that correctly? Okay, so maybe we should start from second to last, right? Is that what it told us here? Less than 2 characters left. Okay, so let's try second to last. Python, O. Okay, so let's test this. There we go. Right, I thought it, completely forgot. It said to don't print anything at second to last, not the last character. But that's our solution, right? So we have an input string, the character we want to look for. Then we ask Python if that character does appear in the input string, then proceed, right? And that's why if we type in, for example, tomato in X, right, it's going to check is X in tomato. It's not, so it's not going to follow through with anything inside this if statement block, right? So, but if it does exist, then we want to check its index, right? Get the index of it. Where does it appear? Remember, the find method on strings returns the first instance of it. So this, for example, n will be 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So will be 5. Then this checks, okay, is the index greater than 0, right? So is it the first character? Is it the first character and above? And if it is it also not towards the end of the string? Because if it's the second to last string, for example, or it's the last string, then we can't do anything with it, right? We can't print anything after that. So that's what this check is doing. And then if both of those pass, then print out that substring that we are specifying for, which will be 3 letters from where that index appears onwards. All right, so that's our solution. We can view the model solution here, right? So here they have string called word, stores that word that they prompt for, the character, what they prompt for. Then they're taking the index and then they're doing word.find that character, the index of that character, right? And then they do this. If index does not equal the last one, the last character, and the length of the word is greater than the index plus 3, then print. So basically, hey, make sure it's not the last character and make sure that the length of the word is greater than wherever we start, right, whatever the index is, plus 3 characters. So if that's the case, then we know that that word is long enough for us to print, and then we print it out. So this is how they did it. It's a little bit more shorthand. It's a little bit concise, but again, kind of difficult to read if you're not too hip on shorthand in Python, right? I tried not to use too many shorthands in my videos and in my solutions just because it makes it a little bit easier to read, especially because I'm sharing these solutions with other people. So when somebody comes over here and starts reading this out, they can be able to follow along. Let me add just some spacing here. They can be able to follow along. Hey, this is the index of the character, and check if the index is starts from the beginning or higher, and that it's not the last 2 letters. If that's the case, then print out the substring. All right, awesome. All right, so this exercise is called find all the substrings. Now I did submit it. I did record this part, but I have to go back and redo the recording because I don't think I did a good enough job explaining what I was doing. So we're gonna redo this. I reset everything, so we're doing this fresh. So we're instructed to please make an extended version of the previous program which prints out all these substrings which are at least 3 characters long and which begin with the character specified by the user. You may assume the input string is at least 3 characters long. So same example with the word mammoth. We provide the character M, and it prints out. So it finds the first occurrence and it prints out a 3-letter word that follows it, or a 3-letter substring that follows that index. Finds the second occurrence, prints another 3-letter substring. Third occurrence, prints another 3-letter substring. So it prints out MAM, MMO, and not, and MOT. Here with banana, we provide the character N, and it finds the first occurrence, which is here, and it prints out NAN. It could find the second occurrence, but because the second occurrence appears towards the end of the string, it's not going to print anything else. This is an example, basically giving us a hint that we're going to need to use a loop here. So let's copy this, bring it here. We're going to add a variable called index, set that equal to 0. Then we're going to have our loop while index is less than the length of the input string. As such, then what we're going to need to do is work with that index, right? So I'm going to get rid of that line. I'm going to check if the index of the substring, right? We find it, and we want to start at the character to the index, right? So if we find the character M, for example, in mammoth, right? So we want to start where the first M is to the index. So it'll be, so for mammoth, it will be M, and if the index is 0, it will just print the M. And then down here, we're going to increment index by 1, so we're going to be able to loop through it so we can find a 3-letter word. A 3-letter substring. So that's what we're doing here. Then we're going to check if index is greater than or equal to 0. Another way we can do this is by checking if it equals to -1, right? Remember, the find method on strings returns either the index or returns -1. That tells you that the substring or the character that you're looking for does not appear in your string. We're going to change this to or. I'm going to check if index is greater than the length of the input string -3. In other words, whether the index doesn't appear at all or the index happens to be in a position that's out of bounds or that's towards the end of the string, then we want to break, right? We want to leave this loop. Otherwise, we're going to print the position of the input string, the substring, and then we're going to increment index by 1. So if we run this, if we type in mammoth, for example, and we give it the letter M, there we go. It prints out MAM, MMO, MOT. If we type banana, pass in the letter N, it prints out NAN. So we built on this last exercise, right? In this one, we just checked once, right? Find where it appears, and then print a substring that's 3 characters long from where that first occurrence is, and also make sure that the occurrence isn't towards the end of the string, right? Because the instruction here was to make sure that it's not toward 2 characters from the end of the string. So we know we can just build on that and use a loop to go through the length of the string, and each time, right, build a substring that starts from the first occurrence to where that index currently is. So we start from 0, and then so M will be the first time for Mammoth, for example, the first M will be at position 0. So we'll do M, and it will be 0 to 0. So we'll print out the first M, which will be down here. Then we increase the index by 1. And we do that over and over and over and over until we run out of letters, or that we basically reach this point in which, again, we run out of letters and then we break out of the loop. So that's what the code is doing here. So we can check out the model solution here. So they have a variable called word, stores that inputted word, the character that we're supposed to look for. They have an index, same as we do, but they did it even more succinct, right? While index plus 3 is less than the length of the word, right? So if it's not towards the end of the word, then find that letter in the index that matches the character that we're looking for, and then print from there, and then increment index by 1. And then it loops over and over and over until it prints all available substrings. All right, this is our final exercise. It's called the second occurrence, and we're told to please write a program which finds the second occurrence of a substring. If there is no second or first occurrence, the program should print out a message accordingly. In this exercise, the occurrences cannot overlap. For example, in the string AAAA, the second occurrence of the substring AA is at index 0. So the first occurrence will be at index 0. So it'll be 0, 1 is the first substring. Index 2 will be the second occurrence. Here's some examples of explicit behavior. Please type in a string ABC, ABC. Substring AB, the second occurrence of the substring is at index 3. So AB, so index 0 will be the first occurrence. Index 3 will be the second occurrence. We have AB right here. Here we have this methodology word. Substring we're looking for is O. The second occurrence will be at index 6, which is right here in the middle, between the first occurrence and the last occurrence. And then here we have AB, AYB, ABTU, substring BA, which occurs here, but it doesn't occur a second time, so it prints out the substring does not occur twice in the string. So we're going to have an input string, as we always do. The variable input string stores the input. Please type in a string. Then we're going to have a substring variable, which is going to store the substring that we want to find, as prompted in the instructions here. Then we're going to have our index here. So our index isn't going to be 0. We're going to check where the first occurrence of our substring is. So remember the .find method finds the first occurrence. So we're going to have to build off of this to find the second occurrence. So we're going to do input string.find substring. Then we're going to do if the index is greater than or equal to 0. So if it either occurs at the first index, right, first position at 0, or above that, we're going to have a second variable here called index2, which is going to represent our second occurrence. And this is going to be input string.find substring index plus 1. So, right, so where does the substring occur? And then increment the index from there. That's going to give us our second substring. Our second occurrence. Then we're going to check if index 2 does not equal -1, right? So in essence, what this is checking, that the substring, the second occurrence is there, right? Because remember, the find method returns either the actual index or -1, which means that Python didn't find that index. If that's the case, then we're going to print the second occurrence of the substring is at index, and then we're going to do, index 2, else we're going to print the substring does not occur twice in the string. And that's it. So let's try it with these examples. Excuse me. right? The second occurrence of the substring is at index 3. That's why it returns 0. Let's try methodology. And we're looking for the letter O. The second occurrence of the substring is at index 6. Same answer provided here. Let's try this last input with BA. And the substring does not occur twice in the string, which is what's returned here. So I don't know whether or not putting periods at the end here matters, but let's just test this and see. Your program prints out the second occurrence of the substring is at index 4, does not match with the correct printout. So periods do matter. So let's do an F string instead. Like that. Put a period here, close that string out. So let's run this again. We have an error here. Oh. So actually we don't even test it. It's just test this. Okay, let me stop, reset, yes, run, paste, test again. Okay, correct answer 4 is not found from the printout when the input is AB, AB, AB. The ABA, the program printed out. The second occurrence of the substring is at index 2. So let's test this. 0, 1. Right, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, index at 6. If we do this, index 3. Is this the last? The second, right? It specifies only the second. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The second occurrence of the substring is at index 2. Correct answer is 4, not found. Or ABA, okay. Zero, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. Let me think about this. Okay, so I went back and reread the instructions here, and it says that in this exercise, the occurrences cannot overlap. But in our solution, because we're not going through the entire match onwards, right? We're just incrementing from the index. So I think this might have to be the length of the input string. Let's see what this happens. So if we do AB, 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 right? Is it ABA, ABA, ABA? Right? ABA, ABA, ABA. If we type in ABA, the substring does not occur twice in, is this 1, 2, 3, ABA, BABA, ABA, BABA, ABA. The substring does not occur twice. Right? Wow, this is tricking me. Okay, I understand why. So it'll be the substring, right? Because we're looking for the substring, not the entire string. So I think if we do this, now if we type in, was it ABA, BABA, ABA, now we get 4. So this should be the final answer here. And there was another error here where I was doing an F string, but we don't need to do an F string down here in the else print statement. So if we run this, right, index 4, let's test this. Your program does not print out anything with the input sim, salab, beam, Harry Potter. Or okay, that's another test I didn't think about. Else print the substring does not occur twice in the string. I think this should work. Okay. So it wants us to put the periods here, I think. There we go. All right, after several iterations, we finally got to a solution. Here's the model solution. They have a variable called string, which stores that string provided, and another one that asks for the substring. Right, they did the same thing, index 1 and index 2. If index 1 does not equal -1, meaning the first occurrence does exist in the substring, the substring does occur in the string, then find the second occurrence and then print it. Oh, I'm sorry. Find the string, right, which is what we did here, right, where we just assigned it automatically the second index before we do the printing. But instead, what they did was just they found the occurrence, assigned it to the substring, and then they printed it out whether or not that string does occur. So, but this is our solution. This is the solution, the model solution. This one was a little bit wonky. I had to go back a couple times and think about it, but we just worked through it and debug and came to the final solution. So again, there's going to be some cuts in this video because, again, same issue. I just wanted to make sure I can keep this within 30 minutes. But if we went overboard, hopefully we didn't go too far. But that's the last exercise in this subsection. In the next video, we're going to start section 3 on more loops, and then hopefully we can finish section 4 by before the end of the week. All right, thank you so much for watching. Solutions will be up on GitHub before you see this video. Link is in the description. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned something else about another link, I think for the negative indexing, I think. I don't know if I said it in this video or the previous video, but either way, that will also be in the description. All right, thanks so much for watching.